morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this July 8th version of AM Live on EOA. Your connection to Eastern Oregon, we're glad that you are here with us today. If you want to find our content, you can go to EOA.network, EOA.network, and that takes you to a link tree where you can find the locations of where all of our stuff is released, and glad that you are there. Here in just a little bit, we are going to have Tory Weimer is going to be with us, be talking to us about 8th grade football. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not just 8th grade football.
We're talking about
the new
youth
tackle
football
program
there we
that's
go.
coming to LeGrand.
All right. Yeah. Hey, how are you, man?
I'm good. It's second Monday, not first Monday anymore. It's hot. It was, and then I had a rough night last night because my computer, was having issues with Adobe, and that is, oh man.
So I didn't tell you.
Bad.
I didn't tell you what happened. So, and this is just, I was complaining to Tanya about this after. So you're on the phone here at the office.
Yeah.
Trying to get a hold of somebody at Adobe to solve your issues. Okay.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my phone rings at home, and the guy, the only number he had was to call my number. It's Adobe, okay? And I said, look, my associate is at the office. You need to call him.
Yeah.
And his first response was, oh, just have him call back into the Adobe helpline.
I had already called him because they didn't call me.
I know, and I said, really? And start the conversation over again? I said, how about I just give you the number and you call him?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, I was so dumbfounded.
I don't understand. So after he disconnected and didn't come back,
Yeah.
he actually restarted the computer, right? He's like, I got to restart your computer because he updated some
And that's
some
when you got
firmware.
disconnected?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I call back and a lady answers and I get connected with her and we're talking, blah, 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 and I was like, well, yeah, okay, so what do you do if somebody disconnects? And she goes, well, we call them back on the phone that they called us from. And I said, oh, you have my number right now? And she's like, yeah. And then that guy called in, so I answered it. And I was like, why didn't you just call me? And he said, because I didn't have your number. I was like, you lying son.
Right, I know.
It's
man.
Know. And he made me. It's like I had just had an hour-long text, because I wasn't, like this,
Yeah.
right? And he tells me, he says, I need you to verify the account name and the email address. And I'm like, bro, we just talked for the last hour. I already did it. Jesus, many Christmas.
No, it just, yeah.
It only took 4 people yesterday to
I
get
was,
that done.
I was so dumbfounded. It's like, really? You're
Yeah.
gonna, anyhow, it was just, he clearly, maybe you'd already worn him out. And it's like, no, if he just calls
I was
back,
really nice to him, actually. Yeah. Like I was very patient because I could not understand him. I was very patient with all of them. I couldn't understand them very well.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like
they
that's
all
just being
had
honest.
a strong accent.
Strong accents, yes, on all of them, and it's just like. Finally, I just told the guy, well, we have this chat box. Like,
Yeah.
just type in there. You know what I mean? It might be better for me to read it than try to translate what he's saying, basically, because his English was so broken.
Yeah.
But
well, anyhow.
yeah,
Yes.
the computer's fixed. Adobe's working good. The crazy thing is HP, which is what kind of computer it is, had a firmware update. Okay. And somehow it changed all the Adobe permissions.
Oh.
And so he had to go in and change every single Adobe permission back to full access. And as soon as he did that, like it took a while. It took a long while because he'd start the permissions to change, and it does this. It goes through all the different, files, changing all these permissions, and he'd be gone for like 5 minutes, and it would just sit there.
Yeah.
When it was done, and then he'd come back. So I think he was doing like 2 or 3 jobs at once. But when he finally got it done, and it loaded right up.
Yeah, I get super impatient with the chat.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Sure, yeah, and of course they want you to do that because they can handle 2 or 3 customers.
Yeah, you can if they're on the phone.
Yeah. He's like, no,
Yeah.
I'm a phone dude.
I
It's
told him, I said, well, what are we supposed to do? Like, shouldn't you call me? Because I can't see the chat box while you're working on my computer.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, you just take over mouse. And I said, the last time I tried to take the mouse from you, you fought me. I'm like, so if it moves, let go. It was pretty funny. Yeah, but Adobe Lightroom is working, and I can import pictures no problem now.
No, yeah, a little bit more of a rant. So there was a couple of years ago, I was looking at a software, and it was like, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 a year. That was, and so I was looking at it for our playout system and stuff, and so they laid it out, and I was calculating, okay, we wouldn't have to pay this, and so this, yeah, and so then I said, okay, so if I have a problem, who do I call? And it's like, no, we don't have. There is no phone customer service.
Oh yeah.
And I'm
no.
like, dude, this software is going to cost $4,000 a year, and you don't have phone. Like, no, I'm sorry.
See ya.
Yeah. Anyhow.
See ya. Adobe's their customer service is actually really good.
No, I was. Yeah.
I mean, they called. You know what I mean? They didn't just blow me off, and he knew what he was doing. Like
Yeah.
you pop in there and it always says, I am Farrajon. I have 2 years of experience.
Yeah.
All of them say 2 years. It doesn't matter if they have a month or 2 years, right? But this guy had 2 years of at least, probably more, because he was right on spot. You know what I mean? Like
he wasn't having
nailed
to
it.
Google something or research.
No,
you can always tell that. You know, it's like,
Yep.
oh, that's your problem. Hang on one second.
He knew
Anyhow,
Lightroom.
yeah,
That's
funny
for sure.
route. Okay. All right. Hey, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Handcrafted for timeless style and indulgent comfort, Stearns & Foster delivers the exceptional sleep that you've been dreaming of. Experience the ultimate expression of craftsmanship and in-store today at Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams in LeGrand. Short show today. The rosters for Oregon East-West Shrine are finally out. The local kids in the game are Chris Entrikin from Baker, Deacon Pace right here. I didn't have a picture of Chris. Mason Strong and Colton Primus from Primus. His parents always get mad at me when I say Primus on the football stream, so I just had to say Primus one time. Colton Primus from Pendleton, Kelton Shoemaker from Union, and Kenai Huff from the Tigers. And so it should be cool. The head coach for the East will be our own coach from LeGrand, Dalton Sheets, and the head coach for the West will be Sean McNabb from Scappoose, who's a familiar face to the Shrine game. I think I have an interview with him from a couple years ago up on EOA Live if you want to check it out. Just go to our YouTube or our Facebook, and you can find it. You can search Sean McNabb. Willie Mack will be here for play-by-play, and yours truly will be doing color for, this is going to be our 5th year doing it together. This is going to be our 5th year live streaming the game, man. I can't believe it's already been 5 years. Softball summer season for the Lightning has come to a close. I just wanted to read what the head coach, Mike Brock, wrote on their Facebook page real quick to summarize the short season. And I say short, and I mean that by time. They played a lot of games. They played 24 games in a really short amount of time. That is a wrap for the 2025 Oregon Lightning 18U season. The girls went 22-2, scoring 247 runs in 24 games while surrendering only 64. Our team batting average was .466 on the season, while opponents managed to hit just .229. Our pitchers threw 9 shutouts over 24 games while amassing 3 times as many strikeouts as walks. For a group of girls that just wanted to play a few games together one last summer before they headed off to school in the fall, they didn't do too bad. They managed to win 2 tournament championships, a runner-up, and a berth to nationals. More importantly, they got to spend just a little more time on the field with each other and make some new friends along the way. And that photo was courtesy of the UC Lightning Facebook page. Quick Legion baseball update. The 16U team will host Pendleton tomorrow. night, 6 p.m. down at Optimist Field. And then the 18U team will head to Portland this weekend for a tournament. And on Friday, the 16U team will turn around and play again down at Optimist. They'll play Baker and Fruitland at 2 and 7. And then Baker and Fruitland will play in between there. So there's actually 3 games, LeGrand and Baker, Baker and then Fruitland, and then LeGrand and Fruitland. And that's on Friday starting at 2 p.m. That's all I got on a Tuesday AM Sports Report, brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. They want to make you comfortable in your own home.
Cool. Thank you, man.
Yeah. Yep.
So our weather segment is brought to us by CHD. So, hey, thank you, CHD Developmental Disabilities. So let's take a look outside. And it's clear. It's going to be hot today.
You know, like yesterday.
Yeah. And in fact, just looking at the weather graphic, it's going to be warm for the next
I'm going to be
many
staying
days.
right here today.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. No, that's tomorrow. Good. Tomorrow it cools off, and that's when the baseball game is perfect.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then it looks like, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it's all going to be hot in the 90s.
Yeah.
And no rain in the foreseeable future there.
Yeah, that means it's going to start drying out really bad, and we're going to be in fire danger.
Yeah.
Pretty quick.
All right. Well, hey, why don't you take us to the commercial?
Me take us? That's not my normal job.
I know, yeah.
What
Tell
are you
us
who's
who's coming
trying
up.
to do to me here?
Tell us who's coming up.
All right. After the break, we'll be joined by Tory Weimer. He's a teacher here in town, but he's also the 8th grade head football coach, and he's part of this group of people that got together and are starting a new football league here in LeGrand. We'll be back right after this.
Eastern Oregon is full of interesting people, with interesting minds and interesting things to say. Here at EO Live, we're committed to connecting you to these intriguing people with EO Talks. We let our special guests share their ideas and life experiences with deep, open, engaging, and inquisitive conversations. You'll also be informed in depth on some of the most recent and relevant events, issues, and more. EO Talks on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
Welcome back. This is not my usual form during this show. I don't usually come in and out of the breaks, but today BC's trying to keep me on my toes, I guess. We're joined now by Tory Weimer. I've known him for 30 years probably.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, for a long time.
Long time.
And he's currently a teacher here. Well, we'll talk about that more later. You can disclose all that. But what we're here to talk about is he's the 8th grade football coach, but he's also part of this group that is putting together a football league. I mean, like from the ground up, essentially, because we lost tackle football here in LeGrand, kinda. It's kind of. I'll let him explain more of that. Tori, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm
Good.
doing well. Yeah.
It's hard. I can't explain it because I don't understand.
Well, and I was just on break. I was on my phone answering emails to people, and yeah, it's a lot of moving parts.
So start at the top and just tell why are you here? I mean, that's
So yeah, the big thing I want to do is get the push out for that league. I do coach 8th with Kevin Lair and Clell, and we're looking for an assistant. And love those guys. Love football. LeGrand football is a special thing. You go to watch games in Tillamook, or you go to other places, and you come back home and you can see all the fans and the people in our stadiums, and the community support in football here is just huge. So it's a great thing to be a part of. My kid played from this big flag all the way up through, and yeah, it's a good community to be a part of. And the football thing you're talking about, this league, what happened is we were running it through Optimus for years. You know, when my kid went through it, we had, I think, 6 teams just out of LeGrand. And then you had the Wallowa, Embler, Elgin, Union teams, and it was a league within itself. And Optimus ran it, you know, like Joel Hassey and those guys, like they ran Optimus for years and years and years and years and years. And it was a solid program. And then I think, like a lot of things, COVID came and pushed pause on a lot of stuff. And then you come back and you're kind of picking up the parts and pieces.
Yeah.
And so part of that was Parks and Rec took it over. They took over tackle football, and they ran it on Saturdays. They had high school kids reffing.
Yeah.
It was called rookie tackle. It's just a different way of playing short and field, things like that. And what I saw, and I'd go watch games, is you kind of have the same 4 teams, because we got down to 4 teams in the whole valley playing 8-man football, is you'd have the same 4 teams kind of thumping on each other for weeks, you know. Yeah. And there's good things happening down there, but looking at it as what's something else that could happen? What's something else that's out there, another option? And you know, Parks and Rec was kind of wanting to pivot to something else. They've got a really, really strong flag program, like huge. It's been successful for years. And so there was talk of, you know, do we just do flag? Do we you know, drop the tackle football stuff? And so there's discussions happening between, you know, myself, Clell, Stu, Chris down at the Parks, George, all these folks, a lot of the Optimist guys, like what's something that we can do to maybe change it or enhance it? And Clell started talking to some people that he knew in Pendleton, and got hooked up with Roy Huning. I hope I'm saying his last name right. Super awesome guy over there. Really, really cool guy. I've been on the phone with him for weeks, trying to pick his brain on things. And basically what they did there in Pendleton is they came in, they made a board, and they joined the Columbia Football Base. I'm going to mess it up. Columbia Basin Youth Football League. And they did that. They came in, they built it from the ground up. They're the Junior Buckaroos. They wear Pendleton colors, and they've got programs from 3rd through 8th grade. And it's solid. I mean, it's talking to Roy, what they do, it's a machine. And so the culture that they built there, it's all kind of, you know, you call it the Junior Buckaroos, with the idea that it's supporting middle school, and then the middle school supporting the high school, and they're all kind of working together in doing this thing, and just talking to them and seeing how they run things is pretty impressive. And I called Roy, started talking to him, and I was like, you guys are gonna thump us, you know, if you guys have this thing going. And I mean, we see it with wrestling in our town, right? Our youth program is so supportive of the middle school program. The middle school program supports the high school program. We see it with baseball, and I feel like it's important to have that for lots of different reasons, but building culture is probably one of the big things. Building culture, building community, getting parents involved, getting the support. And yeah, talking to Roy, I was like, man, we probably should do this. And he says, you guys probably should do this, because we want you guys to be competitive.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
If we're going to try to build this program, and you're in our high school league, we need you to be a team to, you know, that we got a plan against. And and so he's been amazing and very helpful at getting us to navigate this path to joining the league. The league itself is one of the largest youth football leagues in the country, as far as being an independent, board-run, volunteer-based deal. And I went to their board meetings, like, this is legit. This is big time. This is a big deal. They provide referees. They provide insurance. They have this whole setup where you have a regular season, and then you go into a postseason, a true postseason, with at the end a Super Bowl, they call it, trophies, and they play in big stadiums where they can get into big stadiums and make it a big deal. And The people there at the CBYF are legit, and it's cool because their whole thing is just they want kids out playing football. They want kids out being involved. They want to support what communities are trying to do, and then they offer all kinds of things that in the future, the idea would be that we could build towards something bigger than what we're doing now. We got to take baby steps. Cloud's like, hey, slow down, man. It's the first year. But they offer a cheerleading program, you know, and so we've gotten cheer back in the high school, and it's something that we could have the cheerleading program in LeGrand kind of become involved with, and they have youth cheer programs. They have a really strong 7-on-7 league. They've just got a lot of different things to offer, in a really tight, well-run organization, and so we're trying to become part of that league. Basically, is what we're doing.
How do you become part of that league?
Well, you have to be accepted. They have to give you the green light to it. You got to show that you're going to be committed to their standards. You know, one of which is like you have to have paid refs at your games. You know, which I love having volunteer refs from the high school. I think it's a good experience, but you know, football, it's an emotional sport.
Yeah,
People,
I'm a firm believer in paid refs and umpires. Trust me.
yeah. And so you have to have all of these things. So, for example, on game day, your field has to be roped off. And there's no fans, no parents, nobody but staff, like you would at a high school
As
game.
it should be.
You know, just a lot of different things that they wanted to make the game to where it's really just about the game and about the kids. They've got this structure of it's called the 3 pillars, and those pillars are the high school, the athletes, and the officials. Sorry.
You're good.
And so they have this thing where they want all of these, you know, groups to be kind of feeding into each other, you know. And so one awesome thing that they offer, and I'd love to see this, is they've developed a curriculum that is basically become a CTE course in the high schools to train high school kids onto being officials.
Wow.
So that's and they want to push that, and they want to support that, and they have everything. The last board meeting I went to, they talked a lot about that program and how we can get involved with that. And again, that's a further down the road thing, but just examples of things that being part of that league offers, and why we would be excited to pursue it. You know what I mean? And so we're doing it this year. The Junior Tigers is what it's called.
Why is it called the Junior Tigers when the middle school is not the Tigers?
So
Wildcats.
The idea is that it's every team that's in the league is the Junior Bulldogs, the Junior Bucks, the Junior, you know, whatever it is, with this idea that you're building this program around the high school community. Right, and not just the high school athletics, but like we're LeGrand Tiger football, right? Like
high school we are.
Yeah, in
middle
high
school we're Wildcat football.
Yeah, but we at the middle school, you know, ever since I started coaching, when Mac was back there, I was like, hey, what do you want us doing down here? What do you want us to emphasize? You know what? And he'll come down and he'll talk to us, you know. And we get coaches from the high school all the time. They'll come in at our practices. They'll come and give speeches afterwards, you know, or they'll pull kids aside, or, you know, we practice kind of right next to each other up there at Central, and we work pretty closely with the high school guys, right, as middle school coaches. And then these programs, kind of these youth programs, they're going to be working closely with the middle school coaches and the high school coaches. And so it's just this idea of building up and like supporting team community, you know, team identity. And so it is the Wildcats, you know, the 6th grade team, they'll have Wildcats on their jerseys, and they'll have Wildcats, you know, the logo on them. 5th grade will have the logo, the Wildcat logo, with the idea that you're going to be a future Wildcat someday.
Or a future Tiger.
But then as a Wildcat,
okay.
we really want you to become a future Tiger.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's always been. I played middle school football, you know, for LeGrand.
Yeah.
And we were the Wildcat. I mean, we wore green. We didn't even wear blue.
Yeah.
We wore green back in the day. The middle school was green.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't. So I guess I'm like the kind of person that's like the name doesn't really matter. It's more about the culture and what you're doing. It's a feeder program for the high school.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the reality of it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So the name can be what you can call them, the bananas for all I care, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But the basis just has to be that, hey, we're developing players that are going to hopefully play at the high school level.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the way the league's boundaries work out, because say we go to the postseason, you play other 4A sized teams.
Okay.
And so Jeremiah Lowe, he's one of our. I probably should be able to say this, but he was hired as the assistant coach for the 6th grade team.
Okay.
And he was talking. We were talking about the league, and I was talking to him about football. He said, "Man, in Texas, there's towns in Texas," and he goes, "Every team is the high school team, like that is it. Like the middle school is the whatever you want to call it, And so." I'm just a firm believer in culture building, and a lot of that comes through just building identity and getting like they do at the high school level with baseball and wrestling. Those parents, the kids that practice at the youth level, they know the players up there, they know the coaches up there, they know the program to an extent, and I think it can only strengthen a community and strengthen a program itself.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. That's the idea. So
where are we at right now? So like, explain to me where we're at.
Yeah. So I've been I stepped in these meetings that we had, trying to figure out what this was going to look like, and so my job right now is to build the registration sites, which is kind of a bit tricky because the league has their own registration site that they have to register for rosters and for their insurance waivers. But then you also are going to have the 6th grade kids are going to have to register with the school district, as you do for 7th, 8th grade football. The 5th grade team will have to register with Parks and Rec. And so we're right now, I would say everything's built and ready to go to get kids registered. And so where we're at now is I just got off the phone with the guy for the jerseys. I've got the uniforms ordered for both teams.
You already have full rosters?
No, but
how do you order uniforms if you don't know what size?
That's a tricky thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you call.
I would have waited,
dude. You call. Well, you can't though, because those guys they don't have a quick turnaround. The guys that make the jerseys, right?
Yeah.
So you just pick a number. 30's it. Like we would love to have 30 kids come out for any football team, middle school below. But you've got to be ready for them, and so a lot of chat GPT for sizes and coordinations, and talking to other coaches and things like that, and talking to the distributors and things like that. And so you basically get an idea of the average 6th grader what they would need.
So Timmy, who's 74 pounds, isn't going to have a jersey, and Johnny, who's 274 pounds, isn't going to have a jersey.
I told the guys, like he showed me. He's like, here's what I think. I said, listen, there's big kids coming out. You can have some big kids in 5th grade. You can have some big kids in 6th grade. And he said, well, we'll get some youth extra large. I said, that works out to about an adult medium.
Bigger.
You get us some adult extra larges. And so I tried to cover those bases. If it works out to where we've got to throw in a quick order.
You're not going to have everybody
and
come.
And the big thing right now is just the numbers. So it's kind of like if you build it, if you get it ready, if you have everything in place, then hopefully they'll come. And so getting the word out right now is the big deal. Getting kids registered, getting families hooked up and online. And you're right, it is kind of messy having to go. We need to do this registration through the school. We got to do this one for 5th grade, and we got to do this one for college or for the Columbia Basin itself.
Yeah.
And so we tried to see how we could make it as smooth as possible, and I think that we're there. We just need to get the word out on this is how you do it, and this is where you go to do it.
So if you don't have registration done, who paid for all this? Like, who's paying for it? Where's this money coming from?
So the league pays for all insurance waivers.
Your jersey? I was talking like the jersey order. You said you just ordered jerseys.
So the jersey orders come from the school and the Parks and Rec are
Oh,
taking
they're
part of
actually
their
paying for it?
yeah, and the other leagues they charge a jersey fee to their players. You know, in the other teams, I found out that's kind of how their presidents run it. Is
Then you get to keep the jersey?
you get to keep the jersey, which is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And we were gonna just keep our own jerseys, but they have league sponsors, and so their logos go on there, and so we had to make that decision. But it's basically if the school's gonna equip a new team, you know, or Parks and Rec's gonna buy new equipment, their
Yeah.
budgets are gonna cover that.
So the equipment for the schools that are affiliated with the middle schools paid for by the middle school, and the equipment for and understand, people, football equipment is not cheap. We're talking like a couple $100 for shoulder pads. You know what I mean? It's not a couple $100 for a helmet. You outfit a kid about $500 probably, close. I mean, that's probably not exactly right, but it's very close to that. And if you're ordering 300, that's a lot of money. 500 times 300,
And
that's 15 grand.
There's been donations. There's been money that's come in, like donations and things like that, to help offset it. So yeah, and then one other thing too that the league offers is scholarship money for registration fees or any other fees that come across. And so
that's done on a league-wide basis, so it's not just, LeGrand, we have, a couple $100, we can do a couple kids, but the league will come in and say,
any kid that any family that shows need or a hardship, will get. Yeah, their idea is we don't want anybody to. We want everyone to have access to
I
it.
agree with
So
that 100%.
that's another cool part of being a part of the league is, no hardships for those things. And so, and up at the middle school too, we've like all of the equipment for tackling, for drills, and same thing with Parks and Rec. The equipment's all there, ready to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What about referees? We have a referee problem. If you don't know that already,
We're saying shortage, or
of course. So what do you just like? You gonna make some referees fall out of the sky?
They've got there's the Blue Mountain Referee or Officials Association,
Yeah.
and so we go through them, and
Which is dwindled.
Dwindled quite a bit.
Yeah, there's not a lot of guys.
There's not a lot of guys, and we go through them, and then the league has other options too further away from us, and so because they're Saturday games, that's a little bit more helpful because sometimes at middle school we hope we get an official because there's something else going on somewhere else. So with the Saturday games, hopefully that opens up some schedules for some folks.
Are they all going to be Saturday games, every
Yeah.
level?
Yep.
And you have to play Saturdays? Mm-hmm. Huh.
Yep.
And see, I look at that kind of opposite. Like, a lot of referees don't want to give up their Saturdays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if I was working a full-time job and reffing, I'm not reffing on the weekends. I'll ref Friday night, I'll ref Thursday night. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to be hard to get
talking
people.
to Roy, he says that they get them to come out, and that youth program that they have that I was talking about earlier, they're starting to get more and more kids involved with that, and hopefully that starts to turn out some more guys coming out, and hopefully we can start doing that with some homegrown refs too.
So Blue Mountain is the referee association. So in order to ref, you have to be a part of that association.
Yeah.
And they're short on people. So what are you doing to push people to Blue Mountain? I mean, that's got to be part of your journey as well. is
Yeah.
like trying to get people to sign up to be a ref. 'Cause
Yeah.
we don't have a law here.
Yeah, but if you can imagine, it was a class, right? And you get kids that are going to be around, and kids that are going to be involved. If they come out of that class with all the training and all the certs and everything that they need, that hopefully you're creating some homegrown officials.
I think in Blue Mountain, though, I think you have to be 18 plus to be a part of that association.
Yeah, so it'd be like a CTE class with these requirements
And
built
then
into
when
it.
you graduate, be a referee.
Mm-hmm.
So what about does Blue Mountain handle the wage? Like, do they say, hey, we're going to pay this much for you to do or these games, or does the league?
No, so we cover the teams cover the referee fees.
How?
So it's like at a
you pass the hat at a game, or?
No, it's just build.
Oh, okay.
It's just
so,
and it's built into the cost.
like registration fee.
Yeah,
So, like this year, 3 teams,
2,
2 teams, or no?
5th and 6th.
Explain it. Okay, but there is middle school teams too.
Yeah.
They're funded by the middle school.
Well, yeah. The 6th grade team is,
Yeah.
but like over at Pendleton, they just went. They basically took their middle school teams out of the school, and they're just doing 3 through 8th
Yeah.
up there.
Why are we not doing that here?
Because Kyle, this is like a brand new
Okay.
operation. Like
I got
Yeah,
it.
yeah, you're
Like,
just trying to
we're trying-
just
yeah.
trying to get it going.
yeah,
Yeah.
there. Like, to be honest, there was a lot of meetings and a lot of discussions and a lot of things on how to get it off the ground and how to make it work. And
Well, and these things are tender. That's not the. I mean, that's not. I mean, fragile.
Yeah.
The whole, and so then if you take on too much and you fail, then
Yeah.
you've damaged whatever it might be
The-
that
the
is already.
the start is
Going.
always the heavy
Yeah.
lift.
Right. Yeah.
And then the momentum is, the idea is that you build momentum. And
Yeah.
like I said, eventually what we'd like to have happen is to get it to where it's kind of what Pendleton's doing, is building up this program where it does evolve. I mean, can you imagine that the high school cheerleading team, they've got this program that kind of helps and feeds and supports into them. The opportunities for 7-on-7, like we get a couple that come here, but to have a passing league would be cool to be a part of.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're right. Just getting it off the ground and getting it going and kind of, seeing what hats need to be worn in the first place before you start talking about who's wearing what hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work, but I'm excited about it. I think once it gets rolling, we're going to work out the kinks like you do with anything.
Yeah.
But I look at it as a pretty exciting opportunity for football in the community. And I always tell my students, my kids, I don't care if you play football, if you do drama, if you are in the band, if you do nothing but flag, be involved in something.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
so that's a beautiful part of our community is I think that we offer opportunities for all kids to do many different things. And so this is just, I love football to death, but this is just an opportunity for kids to play competitive tackle football.
Right, and we've talked about that a bunch on
Yeah.
the show here, especially with George Mendoza quite a bit about I guess anybody who has anything to do with high school, is that the opportunities for people for students to be involved in something outside of school. Just it gives them something else to do other than run around with the wrong people.
Keeps them out of trouble.
Yep.
Keeps them out of trouble.
Research,
Yep.
it's proven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say too, football is the way that we coach it and practice it now. We do the hawk tackling system. Pete Carroll and the Seahawks, started taking some things from rugby to keep the head out of tackles and different things like that. And the
It's
way,
called keep it up. Keep your head up.
Yeah, and-
That's the simple.
yeah,
The simple way to put it.
eyes on the hips.
Yeah.
So football has become evolved in that way, where if parents are concerned about safety and they think that it's not a safe sport, the way that it's practiced, the things that we're doing with how to keep it safe is pretty much well established in how we keep kids' heads out of the game, and it is a safe as can be.
Right. It's inherently dangerous.
Well, so's walking across.
yeah, but
Right.
not on the same level
Yeah.
as football.
And so, that's one thing I'd say for a push to it is for parents. It's just like, we take safety very seriously. We take hours and hours and hours of training. We do a lot of it's like mitigation, right? You try to get the game to be as safe as possible, and I feel like it's in a good place for that. So.
Well, and that takes a while. What a parent sees is a hard hit in college or football or NFL or whatever it might be. But this trend of keeping your head up is fairly new. Some of those players that are hitting with their head down, they do that because it's muscle memory. That's what they have been taught
Yeah.
their entire life.
Right.
And so now we're starting a new trend. We're
Yep.
starting a new, and it's going to take a while for that to filter its way up.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, you've mentioned a couple of different times building culture, and I think that talk just a little bit about that. Break that down, and maybe you already have what you just said.
Yeah. So us coaches, we will all kind of operate on very similar values of what we want kids to get out of programs. And so that comes on down to what we emphasize in our practices, how we want our kids to practice,
Give me a breakdown of some of those values.
how we want. So play the game hard, know your position, know your assignment, be a good teammate, team first attitude. Those are all
Sportsmanship.
yeah, big things. I I don't think any of us coaches, middle school through high school, tolerate trash talking. I don't care what the other team said or did. You let the scoreboard do the talking, and even in that situation, you play like gentlemen. And so that's a big push that we have. One of the things that I think these kids that have come through middle school sports, football, is number one rule is be a good person. And they're going to hear that from me. They're going to hear that from Clell. They're going to hear that from Sheets, is be a good person. And that can encapsulate a whole bunch of things.
Right, yeah.
Right? And I would say that one phrase, be a good person, every kid that goes through our programs knows what that means. And that's be a good person on the field, and that's be a good person off the field. So if you're wearing a jersey and it has tiger blue or wildcat blue on it, that means something. So that represents you being out in the community, or if we're out in someone else's community, be a good person.
Now, you've taught fifth grade for years and years.
Yeah, about 16, 17 years.
Has that changed? Has that getting people to be good people? Is that more challenging than what it has been in the past?
I think when you have that, if you go into my classroom, it's the rules and expectations. That's the number one rule right up on the banner that's on the wall, is be a good person. And so I think that, it's just the discussions around what that means are more frequent. And
That's a nice way of putting
yeah,
it.
and so, but the kids, kids know,
Right.
what it means to be a good person, and so it's a simple thing, and you can say, hey, is that something a good person would have done, or is that a mistake? And then getting them to understand too, like, good people do make mistakes.
Right.
It's okay to make mistakes. Like, we're all here to make mistakes. If you said something you regret, or you lost your patience, or something happened, being a good person doesn't mean being perfect, and so those discussions happen a lot, on and off the field and in the classroom, quite a bit, and that rule has led to a lot of growth for kids, and being able to say, yeah, I messed up, but I'm a good person. And so I never want kids or athletes to feel like they're a bad person. I always say there's no such thing as a bad kid. It's just someone that's learning still. I make mistakes. I make poor choices. But having an emphasis of, man, I need to be a good person. I need to not bully kids. I need to not pick on kids. I need to be respectful to the adults. I need to be respectful to my coaches. I need to be respectful to the officials. I think one big change, I think what you're trying to get at is, getting kids to understand that they need to look at the world outside of themselves and how they impact it. And so getting kids and getting athletes to think about that stuff, you just push it a lot.
Now, I saw, I'm a grandfather, and sometimes you'll see a social media post where somebody is recording a student in a classroom and he's just railing on the teacher, being terribly disrespectful. And and I hope that doesn't happen. In my mind, my grandparent mind is like, how in the hell did that kid get to that place where he somehow thinks that all of that is okay? It's just so many questions,
Yeah.
And I hope we're not like that. I see no evidence of that in Eastern Oregon.
No.
But certainly kids are under that pressure to be that, be the tough kid, be the, I don't know, whatever they call that thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the big thing that, if a kid's being disrespectful, or if a kid's showing off, or if a kid's being mean,
Yeah.
it's the way, as the adult, the way that you deal with that is relationship building.
Right.
So you have a good relationship with the kid, and they're getting mouthy with the the para or the substitute or somebody, and if you have a relationship with them, you can walk them through the process of why their words, their choices, their actions were probably not helpful. We're not good. We're not helping them. I always want my students and my athletes to let the sub leave feeling like they had a good day. And getting kids to understand, like, hey, this person works or has a life outside of work. They probably have kids. They probably have experiences. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe their car broke down. And so I think trying to build empathy within kids is the way that you really deal with that. And those changes that you're talking about,
Yeah.
I think that's a big push in society and schools and sports, is build empathy for folks. Help them to understand what it's like that this person has a life outside of this classroom. So
Well, and it comes back to that thing that we talked about, is that if every kid has some kind of a connection, if they're in choir, or if
Yep.
they play football, or if whatever, then it's not just that thing, but every one of those, it has a coach or a youth leader
Yep.
or an adult that is encouraging them in a positive direction.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, and every coach that I know is as competitive as they can be, and wants to compete and win. And it sounds cliche, but truly, like, at the end of the day, we're all very interested in helping these kids just grow and have connections, feel like they're part of the community. Sometimes when kids mess up, that's the best opportunity to help them grow, right? And so whether that's in the classroom or on the field, on the mat, whatever it may be,
yeah.
most coaches that I know, that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I like what you said. Not everybody can be perfect. The gauge is, can you apologize?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, can you? That's the gauge.
Well, it's the same thing with an
Yeah.
athlete, right? So
Right.
say they blow their assignment,
Yeah.
or they want to go be the guy and go do the thing on their own. They're going to mess up, and so that in that opportunity, that's where you get to coach them to do the right thing in that moment, in that position, on the field. But then that the field reflects the classroom reflects kind of the society, right? In some ways, you can look at it that way. And so those times where I break down a kid for missing an assignment, and sometimes they get teary, and maybe I'm chewing them out a little bit, but because that relationship piece is built in there, that respect is built into there, it always circles back to you're going to learn and grow from this, and being a coach, you get to have really great conversations with those kids when they mess up in school too. If they're disrespectful to a teacher in school, sometimes it's, hey, you guys are running posts today for practice, right? And they'll be running and they'll be running and they'll be running, and they're probably cursing us coaches out, and they're mad, but by the end of that, there's never a time that one of us coaches doesn't pull those kids or that kid aside after practice and really talk about, hey, be nice to that teacher, be respectful to that teacher, be nice to this classmate, get your grades up. School's important. All of those discussions that happen. Coaching's a vehicle to help them, be successful in their sport, but then also help them through those lessons in life.
I grew up in a really hardworking family. Ranching family, farming in Wyoming. But some of the greatest lessons that I learned was playing sports, because you're absolutely exhausted, whether you're running laps or whatever it is you're doing, and the team aspect. Those are things that I wouldn't have gotten any other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. 100%. Yeah.
So back to this football league. We're going to have 3 teams you said this year?
2.
2 teams this year. Mm-hmm. Outside of the middle school teams. You're not counting the middle school. You're confusing me. You said the middle school is through this league as well.
So 7th and 8th grade,
Yeah.
nothing's changed. We're still playing the same games. 7th and 8th grade are not part of that league whatsoever.
Oh, okay. So just 5th and 6th grade.
And
this
just
year.
the 6th grade. And like I said, the 6th grade is we have 6th grade
school's
sports at the middle
funding it.
school, right? We have 6th grade basketball, we have 6th grade wrestling, we have 6th grade track, we have 6th grade sports teams at the middle school, but they can go compete with other middle schools, because those sports have 6th grade teams, but there's no 6th grade football. And so there was talk of bringing 6th grade up and making like a blended 6th grade, 7th grade team, but I mean the size difference
I
between
think that's what they do in Dallas.
yeah, the size difference between those kids, and so that idea kind of got shelved, and then so joining this league seemed like the best way to keep those kids going. So they will be, they're going to wear their jerseys to school on Fridays, before their game days and things like that. And we want them to feel like they're part of the middle school football teams, but they will only be playing those league games on Saturday.
So how do people sign up?
So
Like where,
you go
when's
through you go through
where?
Parks and Rec. They have, for the 5th grade team, they have that set up. For the 6th grade team, we're going to do a massive all-call push. As soon as I get out of here, I'll talk.
Do you have a website like where people?
Yeah,
can
if you go to
sign
Team
up?
Sideline, and it's Team Sideline, and you can go to Columbia Football Youth League. Gosh, that's such a tongue twister. But if you go to Team Sideline, Columbia Youth Football League, Google that.
Yep.
And then
there.
you can go down there, and you should be able to see the Wildcat that's not a Tiger. It should say LeGrand Junior Tiger Football.
Yeah, why? That's so
I know.
confusing.
I know.
Like you put a picture of a Wildcat and call it LeGrand Junior Tigers.
Yeah, that discussion's been had too.
Oh my God.
It's been had. It's been had. Trust
That's
me.
the way of putting
wow.
it.
Because there was a lot of people that were fighting for it to be called Wildcats, and then there's people fighting for it to be Tiger uniforms if they're the Junior Tigers, and so kind of going by league trends of, hey, every team on there is named after their local high school team, but because we have one team that is, has middle school kids and it's kind of sponsored by the middle school, they're the Wildcats. It'll be interesting. Might have to go back and make changes, but we're rolling with it for now.
I'll put the link in the.
Yeah,
in
I
the
would love if
comments.
you did that.
I already did.
So put the link there, and then that is just for them to have that registration is just for them to be able to be part of the league, and they're very meticulous. They go through all the books. I had to make that site, by the way, which was new for me. So that was
Where'd you get that picture?
interesting. I think that's Logan, isn't it?
Yeah, that picture looks kind of familiar to me.
I just scalped it. Thought we'd put like a homegrown. twist on
I
it.
think I took
Yeah.
that picture.
I bet you did. Don't sue me.
I'm all about the cause. That's funny.
So every kid, 5th and 6th grade kid, has to go onto that site there.
Yeah,
Get
which
registered.
I put the link in the comments on Facebook.
Sweet, man, I appreciate
it.
it.
Actually has a picture, like it has the thing. It says teamsideline.com LeGrand Junior Tigers. So that's 5th and 6th grade.
And that's registration just for the league, so that they can get the insurance waivers. They have to have a photo roster. They have to have their numbers. All of that stuff has to be built in. And then I had to open that site up to the secretary and the treasurer and the other people in the league. And they'll go through all of the registrations and kind of do this checklist on birth certificate's good, photos good, mail's good, all of these things. And I have to go through all of that stuff, and then they kind of comb through it with the.
Do we have any signed up already?
Well, I've got some test families that I've ran.
Yeah.
Yeah, since I wanted to make sure that everything was in place, and so I had a couple test families run through it, and the first test family that ran through it, there was a little bug that was found, and so now everything's smooth, open, ready to go.
Okay, now the killer question: how much does it cost to play?
So through the middle school, it's going to be $30, or whatever their current fee is.
Sport fee.
Yeah, sport fee.
Yep.
and then Parks and Rec set it at $100 to cover the referee and the travel stuff. But I want to plug.
it?
I know, and that's the thing.
Where's the money going to come from? I'm confused.
Some
here.
of these, just from different things, grants and.
It costs $300 to play football in Dallas, and I was part of that.
I know,
and I know how much money it takes.
So it's a beautiful partnership. This is probably another thing that makes it really unique, and that led to the confusion. All of those things is an amazing partnership between Parks and Rec and the LeGrand School District.
Huh.
You know, because there was these meetings, and that was part of my job at the beginning. Was I can talk to the league, and I can talk to the jersey guy, and I can talk to the people that make the websites and all those things, but I'm not the guy that signs the check.
Right.
And so a huge amount of collaboration between Parks and Rec and LeGrand School District, and coming together in these meetings and hashing those questions out, like what does this look like, and how are we going to make it work where we have two separate programs, the school district and the Parks and Rec,
Right.
you know, but we all have this common interest and this common goal to get this thing going. And so it's just hashed out in these meetings that we had.
Well, and that's part of what's made the branding a little bit messy too, whether it's going to be Wildcat or Tiger
Sure.
or
Yeah.
because you've got people, they're investors.
Yeah.
I mean, so they have a say.
Yeah, but
yeah.
the high school's not
Yeah.
invested in
Yeah.
it. I mean, other than just culturally. So the Tiger thing is high school affiliated. It's not LeGrand Parks and Rec affiliation. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know if it's so much that as it is like there is people invested, but I think the name affiliation is just confusion.
Sure.
More, at least in my eyes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how it looks to me.
Yeah. And that's something that can get worked out as we go forward with
Yeah.
it, you know, for sure.
I'm trying to comprehend like how money wise this works, like in my head, like you know, like to start a football team, like you're doing it right now. There's a lot of stuff money that goes into that, and then only $100 a kid to play, like that covers like the refs.
Yeah. And travel.
You have to have 4 refs a game, right?
Yeah.
5.
So they'll have two. You have 2 officials.
Okay, so
There.
2. That's at least $200 right there a game. I'm just in my head, you know what I mean? Like I'm a math person, so like
Yeah.
in my like the money is just clicking in my brain. Like how does this work? But I mean, apparently
a lot of good discussion.
Yeah, I mean,
A lot of really good discussion.
what about
a lot
like
of
chain
collaboration?
gang? Are you paying them? Like, are they? Are you looking?
So we'll do the same thing probably that we do for our middle school games. Is it's nice to have
No
an
parents
established.
on the chain gangs though. I'm anti that.
Yeah. So if we can get high school kids to run that,
That would be perfect.
that's part of that involvement with it, you know. So we'll have those guys come down and help, and yeah, that'll be. I think that I'm gonna have to ask about that one. That's a good question. I haven't
Yeah.
asked that question yet.
I think you need to put a policy in place that says no parents on the chain gang.
Well, yeah,
Because that causes a lot of problem. I've seen it firsthand.
oh yeah, I have to.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just it's not pretty, man.
Yeah,
Like,
they just move it
if
back
you're a
just a
parent,
little
keep
bit.
your butt up in the stands. That's the rule. You know, what
And
I mean?
that's a really big draw to this thing, right? That at youth league level, you've seen it, I've seen it. That you know, you got at youth league level, you have parents right on the sideline.
Yeah, no.
And their kid gets tackled right in front of them, and they start screaming at the kid that tackled them
Yeah.
right here. I mean, it's just not good for anybody. So that was a huge draw to it, was the way that they want things run, and how they go about doing that with the officials and the game setup. And
I like the way that. I mean, I think you keep the parents as far away as possible. You know, obviously for
yeah.
more than one reason. And then the other thing, you have to pay refs, and here's why.
oh yeah,
I'll tell you why you got to pay refs and umpires. It has very little to do with the outcome of the game, to be honest with you. But when somebody's volunteering, you can't hold them accountable.
oh yeah,
So if they're a volunteer, and BC talks about this, managing volunteers is impossible,
yeah,
right?
oh
It's
yeah.
a whole
But
different.
if you're
It's-
paying them, the accountability's there, and they can't make it about them.
Right,
It's that simple.
right, yeah. Oh, I
It's
100% agree.
like this Little League All-Star tournament that I just did, was involved in down here. They were all volunteer umpires. And I'm not saying they did a bad job, But I saw it numerous times where they made it about them, and that nobody can say anything because they're volunteers. You know what I mean? And it's like, if I was running a tournament or a sports organization, that's the first check I'm writing.
Yeah.
Is umpires and referees.
Yeah, and I think that the way that it works in the league too is because they want that push for those youth kids to come up, is that they're going to train them as part of that class, right? And so they'll be there and they'll be volunteering. You'll have some volunteer refs on the field, but they're in job training basically. Yeah, and so hopefully they go do that and they learn to have thick skin like you do. I mean, if you're a paid ref, you're going to get yelled at. You're going to have. I mean,
Part of being a
that's
ref.
part of being a ref. I mean, and there's referees that you know, I've seen that do a really good job of keeping themselves out of it and being really clear about how they want the game to be run. And then I've seen youth volunteer referees at football games.
Yeah.
And imagine you got this quiet kid, just because they play football, that they're not going to be a good ref, and they've got to be vocal and they got to make the calls and they got to do these things. And if they don't make the call and they're quiet and maybe they missed a legitimate call, then you're thinking safety. Well, then you get this parent upset because they missed this call, and then pretty soon the kid's afraid to say anything.
Yeah, and it's just
Right.
a mess.
And so that's something I'm really excited about moving forward for the Grand Football, is that we have these games at the youth level that have these paid officials there to run the games.
That'll probably be officiating them in high school too. I mean, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
if it's Blue Mountain Referee Association, then those are the same guys that do high school games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Well, this is awesome.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
guys. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Thanks for throwing that link in there.
Yep.
I know, because like telling you guys, I could tell you like, what is he talking about? LeGrand, Wildcat, Tiger, what football?
The whole
Parks and
name
Rec
thing
City
is wild
But
to me.
It you know, once we start getting people signed up on that link, then the communication can start flowing and people can start bugging me and sending in stuff, and then you know, there's a big push too. We have to get kids registered by the middle of August to get them on those rosters, and so hopefully a lot of people see this and get on there and get that link for 5th and 6th grade football.
Yep.
And then yeah, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be successful. I have to say that it will be successful because there's a lot of people invested in it, and I think once it gets up and going, it's gonna be something that we can build off of. That's ultimately the goal.
Awesome.
Is that we can put some things in place this year, and then maybe down the road it's not Wildcat, Tiger, whatever football,
Yeah.
but it's
Be a junior Tiger Wildcat today.
yeah.
At least they're not different colors anymore, right?
Yeah, no.
Because then you'd have to have like a half green, half blue
Yeah.
junior Tiger Wildcat uniform.
Yeah, no, it'll be all good. It'll be exciting.
Good.
We'll have at least one home game,
Cool.
here, and so maybe I'll reach out to you guys. You can come see what that looks like. And so, we had to do a process of, it's basically an interview with the league this year, you know, to make sure we can run things the right way on our end. And we were going to have to travel most of our games, but they said they wanted us to host a game to just get a feel for what that's like. And so,
Awesome.
yeah, we'll have a good home game.
Good.
Hopefully up at Community Stadium. I'm going to talk to some folks.
Good luck with that,
Make
by
a
the
big
way.
time. I know. We can dream, but
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be good.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
appreciate
guys.
it.
I really appreciate it.
Sit
Appreciate
tight
the
there
plug.
for a minute until we're done.
Get us out of here.
Yeah, let's do it. On this day, July 8th, 1776, Colonel John Nixon gives the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia. On this day in 1796, the U.S. Department issues its first U.S. passport. 1947, on this day, reports are broadcast on news that a UFO crash has landed in Roswell, New Mexico. 2020, on this day, Americans and Polynesians made contact around 1200 AD, according to a new genomic study in Nature's magazine. People from Eastern Polynesia had DNA from indigenous Colombia, which that's crazy, man. It's really crazy when they prove with DNA that things that happened in history aren't necessarily right. 2021, a tiny Leonardo da Vinci sketch, the head of a bear, which is the size of a Post-it note, sold for $12.2 million at auction in London. On this day, the number one song in America, 1985, Sussudio by Phil Collins. And the name Sussudio is a made-up name, but it's basically, he says that it's like a chick that you're like, that is unattainable. That's basically what a Sussudio is. The quote of the day comes from Chuck Berry. It's amazing how much you can learn if your intentions are truly earnest. One more time. It's amazing how much you can learn if your intentions are truly earnest.
All
That's
right.
it.
Thank you, man.
Back on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks again to Tory Weimer, and get signed
you,
up
guys.
for LeGrand Junior Tiger Wildcat football.
Thank you. All right. See you guys soon.